Okay, so now let's go ahead and get this slightly organized. So first of all, we have this group here, and actually this skin should be contained not within that group. Um, let's see. Let's go ahead and take the root bone, make sure that that's outside of that group. We don't need that additional group because it would actually add a transform that we don't want it to have. So then we'll go ahead and take the root and the skin. We'll export this. And then we'll go to export selection. So just for reference, this is actually taking a little bit longer than it should because I need to actually remove my A drive. It's a floppy disk drive. So I'm going to name this Emily UE4_rig. So make sure smoothing groups are on. I'm going to turn on animation and have deformed models, skins, blend shapes, and be exporting as an FBX. I'm going to export that there. Okay, so now in Unreal, let's go ahead and take a look at importing this character. So first of all, I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call this Emily so I can keep her organized. Then I'm going to have my Emily UE4rig import. I'm just going to drag this into that Emily folder. And I'm going to import a skeletal, import mesh, and under skeleton, I'm actually going to select the UE4 mannequin skeleton because I want them to use the same skeleton. And because they actually have the same bones, this is pretty much the only way that I can get these to work is to make sure that I'm actually doing it this way. And then I'm also going to go ahead and update skeleton ref pose. I don't know if that's necessary in all cases, but it works out pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and hit import. Okay. And then really that should come in just fine. It's compiling some shaders right now. But you'll notice if I bring up persona, then I have my character here. And because of all the bone names being the same, I can automatically go into the animation tab, see a bunch of animations, and I can just play them by double clicking on them. So I can go to, you see here's my idle, here's my run, and here's my walk. And actually, for the most part, it looks like this has already kind of come in well, which is awesome, and in some cases a little bit unexpected. But the one thing that's worth noting is that if you ever need to make sure that the animations are coming in correctly and actually deforming correctly for the character, basically what you do is you go to the skeleton, you select Show Advanced Options, and then actually, okay, it looks like I'd already done this so that it had saved some of the connections. But so under the advanced options, basically you want to see all of these listed as skeleton, and with the root being animation or animation scaled. I think animation scaled is usually the best thing. And then the pelvis set to animation. So if you want to change these things, you don't want to have to do this manually in all cases. But you'll notice that because we deleted the hand bones, that those hand bones are actually just grayed out. They're still there, but they're still there in the skeleton definition because it was the original character. But in this case, they're not being used because we don't have them. And that's not a huge problem in this case. But so anyway, if you want to make rapid changes, what you can do is you can go to the root. You could set recursively set translation of the bones. So let me show you what it looks like real quick if you were to just bring this in and it would have the wrong settings. If you recursively set animation, translation, retargeting animation, then you notice that actually the character comes in with the same proportions as the mannequin character. So it like stretches out the shoulders, it makes the spine really long, and all the bones kind of just like, you know, look super weird, right? And so basically that's because the animation is moving the bones into the positions that they would be for the other character. So the way that you can fix that really quickly, and this is the way that you would do this in almost every case, is you right-click, you select recursively set translation retargeting skeleton on the root. And then that's going to have a little bit of an issue here because the root and the pelvis should be set differently than the rest of them. But because the root is how you can get all of the other bones, you just do that as a shortcut. Then you go and you change the root to animation scaled and the pelvis to animation. And then that should put everything back where it needs to be, and you should be in pretty good shape for that. And then I can go ahead and save this. And then this is the same for almost every integration of a new character or 3D model. You want to find the blueprint that controls this character. And so what I usually do, if I select this character here, I can go to Edit Blueprint in the Details panel, open Blueprint Editor. Or you can go and you can find that blueprint in the project. So for example, I know that the let's see if I filter by blueprint classes. I have my third-person character, and that third-person character will also open up the blueprint. So you want to make sure that you're actually editing the viewport option, so because you don't want to change any of the functionality really of how this works. You just want to go to the viewport, and you want to find the mesh, and you can just click on the mesh here, and it'll show you where the mesh is. So in this case, it's here. And then really all that you have to do is assign the mesh and the materials for Emily instead of the mannequin. So I'm going to go ahead, find Emily. I'm going to reset my filters. So I'm going to select Emily, and then I'm going to click the arrow, and that's going to turn it into Emily instead. And actually, it should already populate the materials. So no, I haven't finished the materials for the sake of this, because this is just for the purpose of instruction. So I'm going to go ahead and hit compile to make sure that that all clears out. And then you'll notice that the character is now Emily from Reflections, our game on Steam, instead of the character from the mannequin, the default mannequin. And so if you want to make your own custom character, all you really have to do is follow those steps. And I know that this was a little bit of an extended video because it, or video series, because it showed how you go about setting up weight painting. But if you already know how to do weight painting and make sure that you're setting up a character like that, really the main things that you need to know are how to reposition the bones so that they maintain the consistency with the character that you have in Unreal. And then how to go through this import process and make sure that everything is set up correctly. And so obviously it's a little more complicated when you're dealing with a character that animates in this fashion than if you're dealing with a character that is just kind of like a spaceship or something. But hopefully this should give you a good idea of how to get a character running. There are slightly more complicated processes involved in getting a character set up that has a different rig. So it's definitely substantially more challenging if you're doing it that way. But this is the way that I recommend you handle this if you're just first getting into editing characters in Unreal. So this is a good way to kind of like figure out how the whole system works. So yeah, that about wraps up my tutorial. I appreciate you guys checking it out. You could always leave comments and let me know what you think of the tutorial, or if you have any ideas of things that you might want to look at in the future. So, all right, thanks.